What's up, guys? All right, everybody who's jumping in. We're a few minutes out. Today, we are going into checkpoint 2. So if you guys remember the last 2 that we've had, so this is our 3rd inside the series. Number 1, do they need to act? Number 2 was a little bit of a deviation, but it focused on the 5 fatalities. So as we get deeper into why do sales die, right? When we're starting talking about trust, we're talking about product fit, we're talking about timing, right? Those 5 fatalities and what's happening when our sales die or why are they dying. It's an awesome, awesome way to be able to look at the business and understand that we can change the future by understanding what's going on in the past or why these are dying. So we're still about 5 minutes out from rolling, guys. And thank you for joining. Again, today, checkpoint number 2, do they actually need new or outside help? Right. There's also a possibility that there's a pretty big issue, and I don't know what it is, but David showed up early, so I can only assume that there's something going on. Is there a reason that you're here early? Uh, everybody's wondering, right? Chat's blowing up. It's like, why is David here 3 minutes early? He should normally be here at 2:02 Central. But
My PlayStation's broken. Is that
all right, good.
yeah,
Good.
no Call of Duty today.
All right. Well, you know what? We're thankful for that. We're thankful for that.
uh,
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Ghouls and goblins.
Yeah. I have a Pikachu tonight. I have Harry Potter tonight, and then I also have Jack Skellington for the Nightmare Before Christmas. What do you got, David?
I've got Alice in Wonderland
Okay.
and Jessie from Toy Story.
Ooh. Okay.
Sorry, my little one thought this was a normal client call and didn't realize this is a training with hundreds of people from all around the country. So her camera.
There's always time to hug dad. There's always time to hug dad. Okay. Go for it all day.
The sheepadoodle can make an appearance anytime she wants.
Yeah, but only when she wants to look out the window. Something's going on outside, but doesn't want to go outside. Just wants to take a look.
I will tell you though, with my black polo guys, I'm a tall guy, I'm 6'6", 235, got my beard, right? I try to be a tough guy until the little fluffy sheepadoodle walks in behind me. Like I lose all credibility. And I understand that. And I've come to terms with it and I'm okay with it.
We haven't
My
used
child and I love her.
Silver Fox as a code name recently.
Oh, does that mean we're going to start now?
Well, you got to start sometime. No better time than right now.
So in another training group that I'm a part of, guys, they call me the sales preacher, which is very interesting. Never had that nickname before.
I have a lot worse nicknames than that, so I
I
would take
prefer
it.
Silver Fox.
Silver Fox. Silver
Yes.
Fox. All right, what up? What up, guys? Thank you for joining. I'm gonna give a 2-minute leeway here because I know we're still missing a few different people that should be on, and we'll get rolling. David's here early, so it's a really, really special day. And yeah, we're going through checkpoint 2. So as I said a couple minutes ago, if you guys are just joining in, this is number 3 out of the series. So we actually added one in because number 1, actually this is number 4, I think technically. So we got the kickoff, then we get into checkpoint 1. Do they need to act? Then we took a little bit of a detour, went through the 5 fatalities last week, which was absolutely awesome, understanding why our deals are dying. And then today we're in checkpoint 2, right? So do they actually need new and outside help? And that's what we're going to be diving in today. And to me, this is one of the biggest disqualification ones that I use, right? Because as we go through this, we'll talk about discover and disqualify. But understanding if your client's just going to do it themselves, are they just going to take your proposal and give it to the guy they've already used? Right? We've all been in that spot where like, dude, this client's awesome because he gave me the proposal for the other 2 contractors. There's no way I can lose. Um, we've been in that situation. Are you one of those two contractors that are just getting shuffled to the guy's best friend to make sure that the board awards the one he wants to win? So there's ways to get through that. We're going to talk about that today. And just like we do in each one of these check boxes, it's here to discover and disqualify, right? Go in, be open-minded, find out what's going on. But as much as we want to qualify them so we can bid the job, we want to bid the job, we also got to be real with ourselves and understand that if we start letting bad leads into our book of business, it's going to start wasting our time, our energy, money, right? And when I say money, that could be sales directly for you guys. That can be money for the company. If you're driving across town to go figure out, why is this person not responding? There's ways to figure that out, guys. It starts with the 5 fatalities. So if you missed that one last week, I don't want to say you have to wait like another 9 weeks. You don't. But I guess what I'm saying is don't miss one, and then you won't miss it. It's that simple. That's simple. Silver Fox, you ready to roll?
Changing lives. Let's do it.
All right, cool. All right, so step one, guys, if you ever host something, is make sure you're clicked on the slideshow that you're using. So here we go. No reps left behind, guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm going to make this as painless as possible. My name is Chad Westbrook. I'm the founder of Sales Alignment. If you are here, you probably heard of me, maybe what I'm doing within the industry. And if you have not, go check it out. Most of my career, I'm going to say almost 20 years. We're going to round up. Almost 20 years specifically in the construction industry and also in the commercial roofing side. So it makes me an expert inside this this realm that we're in. I take pride in having some of the largest preventative maintenance agreements across the United States. Well on my way to being influencing, a part of, and selling well over $500 million. And that's all inside service work, guys. So we're not talking multi-million-dollar projects. We're just adding up. I'm talking like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 sales, getting into the billions. So I've been there. I've had an awesome opportunity and career to be able to create everything that we're showing you today. And that's what I'm excited about. So happy Halloween.
All right, guys. David Bonney, founder of 45. Chad and I, we did meet through the commercial roofing sector at a company that both of us were a part of. But previously to that, I come from the world of companies that are trying to grow like crazy and are getting investments and funding from some of the largest venture capital firms in the world. And it's through that lens of this ridiculous growth, right? They give your company $80 million and they expect you to grow into that billion-dollar unicorn so that they can exit and take their money out. Through that pressure cooker of performance is where a lot of my architecture, strategic sales systems, et cetera, come from. And the joy for me is to be able to bring those systems that were in that kind of tumultuous world and bring it to companies in the roofing industry where they can be executed and people can thrive and have a lot more fun than companies that are expecting 400% growth each and every single year so they can get a valuation, the valuation that they want. So that's where I come from. That world has led me to write a couple of books. And I focus heavily on sales process, building sales process technology to really help improve and progress the systems that we're presenting to you here today.
Awesome. All right. So we talk about the perfect buyer's journey, guys, right? And we went through this a few different times. It consists of 3 check boxes. Checkbox 1, do they actually need to act? Do they actually need to do something? Checkbox number 2, which we're going to talk about today, is do they need new or outside help? Both of these are really preferenced, or I'm trying to find my right words inside here. They're set up with a set of questions that David and I have already done all of the work to be able to define. These questions are what get you to this checkpoint. Do they need to act? Yes or no? The object is to eliminate the maybes. And when I say maybe, it's not the client saying maybe. Most of the time, it's you guys saying maybe. Because what we have to do is we have to make the customer have a true reality of what's happening. Most of the time, their perception is reality, and they don't understand the bigger issues that are going in, which is part of what we're going to be talking about. So do they actually need new or outside help? All of this is connected into the 4D sales process. So discovery, diagnosis, demonstration, it's all to get us to one point, which is decision. We want the client to make a decision. And at this point right now, I don't care if I'm the right person. That comes farther down the road when we get to demonstration, right? That comes farther down the line when we're talking about, are we the best solution for them? That's where we can get it. Right now, we're trying to get clarity. Clarity is if the problem's big enough to act. Clarity if they actually need outside help. Are they actually going to award this to somebody? Are they just going to sit back and say, nope, it's not the right time. It didn't hit the budget and nobody's going to get the job? When we talk about a trusted advisor, guys, that's what this is about. This is about helping the customer understand that they need to make a decision. And once they figure out that they need to make a decision, right, is the problem big enough to act? We're going to get to checkbox 2, which is, do they actually need newer outside services? Which a lot of times means that you guys are going to have to ask the questions that you think but don't say. And some of those questions that we're going to talk about today is, why don't you just do it yourself? Wouldn't it just, I mean, this is simple. Why don't you just go up there and clean the drains out? Why do you need a preventative maintenance program? And asking some of those questions can help you either better qualify the client or even disqualify it when they say, you know what, I've been thinking about doing it myself, da, 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 da. We'll get into all of that today, but this sits around the 4D sales process. So discovery, diagnosis, demonstration, ultimately to get us to decision. So today we're going to be talking about diagnosis, right? We're going to determine the potential problem they're facing that aligns to what your company does best. And the big part about this is this should be the bigger problem. It should be a bigger problem that your prospect's not currently aware of because they're not an expert. And the best way that I explain this is that I get calls, my customers, my contractors, I should say, I'm putting myself in first person, get called all the time to say, hey, I got some stained ceiling tiles I want to get taken care of. Who cares? Who cares if there's a stained ceiling tile? Because that's not the bigger problem. The bigger problem is maybe this is a Rolls-Royce, dealership, right? And a stained ceiling tile can be a night and day difference to them. Maybe it's a Chick-fil-A where they see it and all of a sudden it changes the whole perception of their just beautiful curb appeal. Maybe it's a slip fall hazard, water on the floor. Maybe the ceiling tile is directly above someone's desk, and if it falls on someone's desk, it hits them. There's bigger issues that are going on. Typically, someone doesn't call because they have a roof deficiency. They call because of some type of problem has disrupted the atmosphere that they have. And as trusted advisors and sales experts, that's what we have to understand, is that when we're going into the diagnosis side, we're here to be able to help them understand the bigger problem. They might know it subconsciously inside our head, but as a trusted advisor, we have to ask the questions that are going to lead them to answer the question, do they actually need new or outside help? That's a huge, huge part of this, right? We're the expert inside the room, and we need to be the ones questioning, right? Much like David said, not courting, but questioning, why is this happening? Why is this a problem? What is the worst case scenario if this doesn't get fixed or fixed right the first time? That's the diagnosis that we're going to be going through today. So all three of these guys, discovery, diagnosis, and demonstration, all of this that we're going through, there's 3 Ds, gives us the fourth, which is helping the client make a decision. Do they need to do this or not? Once they've made the decision that the problem's big enough that they need to spend money to fix it, and they need someone outside or they need someone new to be able to help it, they've made it 90% of the way that they need to make a decision. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing, because now you have an opportunity that is going to award the work to somebody. I know that might sound crazy, but how many jobs do you guys have in your book of business right now, in your subconscious of your mind, that you're asking, I don't even know if they're going to do it? How many roof replacements have you guys quoted this year that they didn't do? And they're not going to do this year, depending on where you are inside the United States, because there's no time left. I'm in Chicago and I got snow on the ground. Those are the clients that we've quoted projects to where the problem's not big enough for them to act, right? And they actually don't need outside services to be able to help because the problem's not big enough to act. That's what we're going to be going through today, and that's the purpose of what we're putting together. And it's always good to drive this home, guys, because you need to understand this. Part of this training is you guys taking this and using it in the field, using it inside the real world. So I'll shut up now and let David have a little bit. You want to take us through the confirmation close, sir?
Yeah, so the confirmation close, guys, it just ensures we're leading all up to this. Okay. So when you guys go through a close process, the key thing is you should be confirming information that you have already captured in the sales process. Okay. Now, one, the vast majority of people don't have a closing process. Most people just say ask for the business. Well, that's not a closing process. That doesn't help people drive to a decision. It ultimately allows them to resist and they stay in maybe land. Okay. And everybody loves maybes. Maybes are always nice and cuddly. But what happens to maybes is when I'm a maybe, if I was leaning towards taking action, but I'm allowed to be a maybe, essentially what happens is something else vies for prioritization and for the funding that I would have to spend on this. And a week later, I get deprioritized because I was left in maybe and something else comes up. And now all of a sudden I get deprioritized when I shouldn't have been, when this problem shouldn't have been. And that's ultimately one of the reasons why you guys see deals go up in smoke when you didn't think they would. So we don't want maybes. So to confirm this information, you're going through this entire sales process to be able to do this. This is the best closing process ever. So Chad, can I confirm? I know we already talked about this, but are we still aligned on the fact that this is still a high priority for you guys to solve? You guys are going to take action on this, correct?
Yeah, we have to.
Okay. Bam. I'm just confirming it, guys. Okay, great. And then in terms of the your ability to solve this on your own, you guys currently, because you guys haven't been able to solve it on your own, you guys rated your own ability to solve this without a new vendor, new help as low. Is that correct?
Yeah, we don't have any way to get this done.
Okay, so you're going to do it, and you guys have to choose an outside vendor. We've gone through our process. So, are we still aligned on the problems that need to be solved on this? And now that we're done through that initial presentation, are you clear on how we're going to solve it?
I think so.
Ah, there we go. Bam. Okay, great. What's unclear? And I'm going to go resolve that right away. Any hint of confusion, any lack of confidence in that answer, great. Where were we unclear? Or where does it seem like we're not going to be able to meet your needs? Because from what I can tell, we're going to knock it out of the park for you. So apparently we're misaligned, and that's okay. But I either want to see where I'm not seeing it, where I'm getting it wrong, or I want to help you see where I potentially miscommunicated something, or where I wasn't doing a good job of helping you understand something. So yeah, great. Let's talk about it. And we immediately go up. Okay. If he does say yes to this, I'm clicking that box. The next question, okay, are we still aligned on the expected outcomes? And now that you know our costs, is the ROI sufficient here?
Yes, without a doubt.
And we're going to hear it. If it's like, okay, is our ROI wrong? Do you guys typically expect more than that? Right? Go right into it. But if those two boxes are checked, then the only question to then ask them is, so based on all of this, do you feel like we're the right solution to solve these problems for you? And it's a yes or a no. If it's a maybe, it's okay. What's not clear, right? But we're driving them to that decision. No's are fine. Yeses are fine. No maybes. No maybes. And your ability to get better and better at driving your prospects out of maybe land is going to drastically improve your skill set as a salesperson and your outcomes in terms
There's a
of your
couple things I want to add.
action and leverage your company.
Yep. So there's a couple things I want to add that you had that kind of hit there. So number one, whenever I get a maybe, the word that comes to mind for me is hope. Right? Maybe it's like I'm either going to be a negative, nah, it's dead. They said maybe I'm out. Most of the time we don't take that because we want to be hopeful, right? Because we've invested our time, our energy, the money, right? Whatever else, all into this. We're going to be hopeful that's going to happen because you know what? He said maybe, and maybe's not a no. So I'm hopeful for it. But the one thing that always comes back to my mind is hope is never a strategy, guys. I don't hope that you're going to get paid on Friday. I don't hope that you're going to get a paycheck, right? I don't hope that you're going to eat dinner, right? Hope is not there. Maybes are not there. We have to be able to help drive our client to an absolute decision. And these three questions are absolutely fabulous at it. As we continue to go deeper into this process, these are the questions that'll get you to that yes. If you guys have to ask for the sale, you have to ask them, hey, what's going on? I wanted to check up. What's going on? That is not a close. That is you trying to help them, not even help them. That's you trying to say, hey, have you guys figured out when you guys want to do this? And if that's the case, we got a problem with the check boxes up top, right? We talked about this being a major issue and that you need to get it done before the snow falls and that you guys have no ways of getting this taken care of. And now we got the snowfall, right? Now we got snow, whatever the situation is, right? We've talked about this. We've taken the maybes out of this situation. So hope is not a strategy. So if you guys got opportunities that are in your book of business that you're hopeful for, get back in there, ask the questions that truly matter, because that's going to make the difference. And much like David said, if there's anything in here that's not clear, right? Are we the right solution to be able to create, the end goal, right? So it's right here. Are we the right solution to solve the current problems and get you guys to the desired outcomes that we talked about? We talked about ROI. That is so important. ROI, or return on investment, is not the cost of the proposal. Most of the time, the cost of the proposal is a very, very small piece of what the return on investment is, because the return on investment is ultimately, if this is not fixed correctly, what's going to happen? Okay. Damaged ceiling tiles, stains on the wall, cleaning up carpet inside the floor, damaged product, someone slips and falls and they have to call in an ambulance. It's a workman's comp situation. That's all cost connected to the deficiency that they thought was just a stained ceiling tile. I hope this is making sense to you guys. And it's not an easy thing to accomplish when we're talking about the bigger issue, but we're going to lead you into ultimately how you get there, right? We've created it. We've showed you guys called the buyer's action plan. And each one of these check boxes have a defined set of questions that we ask. So we're not asking you guys to reinvent anything, right? So when you first sit down, what's their objective? When people take the time to sit down with me, it's typically not because they like speaking with a roofer. They normally have a problem or a goal. Which one is it for you guys? Right? That's their objective. Why'd they sit down? Why'd they schedule the meeting with us? And what we're going to be going through today is obviously checkbox 2. So checkbox 1, we go right into the questions that we covered 2 weeks ago. We already did number 1, right? When people take the time to sit down with me, that's normally a problem or a goal they're trying to achieve. Which one is it for you guys? That should always be your default first question, because that is an open question for your customer to communicate their pain, their problem, their goal, whatever it is that they are taking the time out of their day to meet with you. It's the most beautiful question that you guys can ask. Number 2, are the decision makers present, right? Number 3, have they tried to solve this and failed inside the past? You guys don't want to quote a job or quote a solution that they've already tried. You're dead in the water. You'll never get it if you don't ask these questions. And then number 3, are they clear on the worst possible outcome if it's not solved? Number 1, if you guys don't do anything, why does that matter? Just let the ceiling tile be stained. Who cares? What if the ceiling tile breaks? What if it falls on someone's desk? What if someone gets hurt? What if there's a slip fall? What's the worst possible outcome if this isn't fixed or isn't fixed right the first time? That's the big key part to it, guys. What if this isn't fixed right the first time? Which means I do all of this. We align everything, and you guys make a choice based upon what you feel is the best for you. Maybe it's a cheaper price, right? Or any of the 5 fatalities that come in. What happens if it's not solved right the first time? It's not only that you have to pay for it again, but now you got to go through this whole process again. Now you got to get proposals again, or you're going to take the hope and you're going to say, you know what? I'm going to call Chad. I'm going to award it to Chad. I should have never went with the first guy. And very rarely does it happen like that. There's a whole set of grief and upset and call the other contractor back for a recall because it didn't work. And by that time, guys, it's a whole different deficiency. So number 1, do they need to act? That's checkbox number 1. Checkbox number 2, do they need new or outside help? Right? This is still part of the discover and disqualify. It's okay to disqualify the customer after they have self-discovered that, you know what? You're right. I can go clean these gutters out myself. You know what? You're right. I can do this myself. Because the only thing you're doing is helping them get to that reality before they do it themselves, and before you waste time, energy, and money trying to follow up and pressure the customer into buying something that they were never going to buy in the first spot. The way you get the highest close ratio is you have the best opportunities that have these check boxes checked in your book of business. And that's how we get there. So David, you want to take us through this side, sir?
Yeah. So guys, common objections that we end up hearing when we don't do this is, yeah, we're going to hold off on this. We don't have the budget for it. We're going to stay with our current vendor, or they just lie altogether when we know that they're just planning on doing it themselves without actually even telling us, whatever it takes. But remember, guys, if they want to take action on something, if we can unpack pain, or if they're feeling pain, the fastest way to resolve that pain is just to move forward and get it done themselves if they feel like they can. The problem is our prospects are incompetent. They are not wise in the areas where they're experiencing the most pain, so they underestimate the problems. The old adage, you know enough, just enough to be dangerous. It's not good. It's not in a dangerous way that's positive. You know just enough to actually be a danger to yourself. And that's usually where most of our prospects fall.
What's the quote that you said last meeting? And I'll butcher it, but like, oh man, if you know how to do it, if you can do it yourself, you're man, what is it?
Oh, the unskilled person is unwise.
Yes, yes,
The wise person knows they are unskilled.
yes. I love that, right? So like I sit in that situation way too many times at home, right? I see something and all of a sudden it's like bad decking boards on the deck. It's like, you know what? I'm gonna go do that. And then you know what happens, guys? Is I go buy the wood at Menards, and then 12 months later, the wood is like it sucks, it's rotted out, it's garbage, and like I am so upset that I did it myself because like I know, right? I should have went with something else. And like I know when I buy the wood from Menards, it sucks, but you know what? I just keep doing it because it gives me this short-term resolution. And sorry, that's a trip down my memory lane of the bad decking boards that I continue to replace. But
It happens
that's
all.
my world.
Yes. How about, I mean, the number of like renovation projects that I get halfway through and I'm like, I wasted all that time and money and I got to go bring a contractor in to come then finish it up. Right.
Oh,
Because if it's, oh my gosh, dude, it's unbelievable. But if somebody just would have helped me seen that, right. But
it's getting on the electrical to when you turn the breaker on, it automatically pops, and you're like, yeah, I need an electrician. Right.
oh,
Like that's what it is.
oh, yep.
All right, cool. We're moving on our own personal problems. All right.
So we call this, guys, we call it the silent killer. And the reason why this is the silent killer is because there is competition that's sitting there when we don't cross this milestone. And it is other vendors. It is our existing vendor. Another famous saying is the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. It's like I know what I'm getting with this vendor, and I know they haven't been able to solve the problem. But if I can maybe give them the proposal from these other companies, like at least I know that they'll communicate with me, or at least I know whatever, right? So we have to remember that. So we've got to. So the big part of this is in checkpoint one, we ask a question that starts down this road. What have you guys done to try to solve this, and why hasn't it worked? And if they haven't done anything, what other vendors have you talked to, and what did they recommend? Or what other contractors have you talked to, and what did they recommend? Either one of those questions starts this conversation and the lack of confidence in their existing resources or plans, which is why they're talking to you. Because most likely, if they were fully confident, they wouldn't be talking to you. Now, if they fall into the age-old bucket that they are confident and they just want a quote from you because they have to get a certain number of bids, then you can figure that out and you can say no and move on and keep your pipeline clean, right? But most of them will have a lack of confidence, and we have to unpack that from them. Okay, so it starts there. But we really want to know, are they currently using, or have they recently in the past used another vendor to solve these types of problems? And it's not why didn't it work out? It's what worked well in that relationship? What didn't work well in that relationship? Get both sides of it, because people don't want to go in and badmouth people, right? So get both sides of it. What worked well, what didn't work well. And that'll give you an understanding of why they're sitting there looking for a new potential relationship. Okay.
Oh, good. Good.
Yep.
So there's one story that comes to my mind that kind of ties right into this. And it's when I was working on a national side, and the property manager told me that the risk of changing vendors and that vendor failing is bigger than any other variable that I can bring into my proposal. Doesn't matter if I'm cheaper, right? Doesn't matter if I can get there faster. Doesn't matter if I can communicate better. The risk that they have changing vendors and me failing to deliver is bigger than any of that.
Yep.
And that was kind of mind-blowing to me, right? Because are they using any other vendors, especially in the property management side? It doesn't matter if you're cheaper. They're still going to go with who they trust, who they know is going to work. And you know what? He might be half-ass, but he's half-ass every time, right? Big difference between saying I'm going to be there today at 2:00 and not showing up today. Like that's a property manager's first world, right? So when you ask about other vendors, I mean, it's a massive question. This is taking the maybe out of everything, guys. Ask the question. Don't be scared to ask the question. Are you guys using any other vendors right now? What have they proposed? What do you like? Right? What are they proposing that you like? Because that's going to allow you to, again, get them to their vision of what this is. What's the goal? We got to understand their vision, right? Because it has nothing to do with the roof. It has nothing to do with what our vision is of what this is going to look like after. Only thing that matters is their world.
All right. So when we get into this, we need to start off by understanding what are the problems, what are the actual problems we're diagnosing, right? Just like a doctor would. But the only way to know that is to really get a good understanding. What have you guys done to try to solve this already? Why hasn't that worked? Why do you guys think this is happening, right? Yep, you can go to the next one. So what are the bigger problems needing to be solved? Okay, now, again, not what they think is going on. They are incompetent. What's the bigger problem that needs to be solved? Bigger problems require more sophisticated solutions at a higher price. Okay, this is a thing that will increase their desire and appetite for a more holistic solution. So, well, I don't think we need to do all that. This seems way too expensive and too intricate. We don't need to do all this. Well, no, there's a bigger problem to be solved. But we can't do that if we allow them to continue to believe the surface level problems that they saw on YouTube or, whatever the thing was when they went to go Google it and try to figure out what was wrong with the roof so that they get some semblance of whoever they're talking to. Does that person know what they're talking about? Blah, 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 blah. Now, the big thing on this is when we can diagnose the bigger problems. Chad and I say this all the time. Great presentations or great proposals are set up by good discovery and diagnosis. It should just be like knocking down dominoes, guys. If you guys get them aligned on the bigger problem, then you can easily connect the dots on your solution and make it very clear. This is how we approach it. This is how we fix it. This is why we do it this way. And this is how we get to the other side. And this is why and all of this tells you why we're different than everybody else.
This question right here is the start to numbing the objection of price.
Yep.
Okay. This is the start. So if you guys are having objections that you're too expensive, they have sticker shock for every single proposal that you guys are delivering. This question right here is what starts to numb that. Because what they're doing is they're taking their perception of reality into the cost that you're delivering to change that reality. And what we're talking about right here is that what they see is what they understand, right? I see a stained ceiling tile. I need to fix that. Well, that's not the bigger problem. The bigger problem, and I can go deep into this, right? Starts at the roof system, that you have water getting into the roof system, right? That's wet insulation. That's possibly damaged decking. It's then getting into the roof, the RTUs, right? Because it's dripping from the RTU above. Okay, well, that could possibly create mold issues, which is now getting into air quality. Now it's getting down to the ceiling tile. Okay, now we're getting into the ceiling tile. What happens with that ceiling tile? One, it's ugly because it's got stains on it. Number two, what if the ceiling tile collapses? Is there enough water coming through if that ceiling tile collapses? The ceiling tile collapses, what is it falling on? Is it falling on a person? Is it falling in a walkway? What's going on right there? What's underneath that? If it's a person, if it's product, if it's in a hallway, we got safety issues, right? That you got something falling inside the hallway. I know this might sound crazy, guys, but when you're talking about large corporations, let's just think about Amazon, and a ceiling tile falls on someone at an Amazon. You guys are crazy to think if someone's just going to be like, oh man, that sucks. Let me just brush this off. There's stuff going down, guys. There are lawsuits that are happening. There are slip ball hazards that are going on. There's forklifts driving through water with our OSHA violations. You have to understand their world. And a lot of times they don't understand the impact of what's happening in the building. I took that extreme for you guys so you can understand what's happening as that water travels through and what are the larger issues that's happening, because that stained ceiling tile very rarely is the only thing that's being affected by the roof leak. You have to go into a discovery with your customer, and you go into that discovery being inquisitive, asking questions. What's going on? The stained ceiling tile is like, oh man, that sucks. All right, so why does that matter? Right? I'm asking the question to be inquisitive, to find out. If he goes, it's ugly, I say, you know what? I agree, it is ugly. Right? All right, cool. Is that the goal? We're just taking care of that tile. There's nothing underneath it. Find out what it is, but then be inquisitive to go deeper. That's a huge part of numbing the price objection, right? Or the price fatality, I should say, right? We went with it because someone's cheaper. Well, they truly might not understand the return on investment of doing it right the first time. And that's what we're talking about today. So if you guys have that fatality, if pricing is your fatality, right here is where you start.
Yep. All right, great. All right, so then we get to the expected outcome side. We diagnose the problem, right? If this problem doesn't get solved, what are the ultimate outcomes that we're dealing with here? Like Chad has said, there's basically three core ones. Slip fall hazard issue. Have they ever dealt with one before? Those that haven't dealt with one before are going to have, is this really going to happen? But those that have dealt with it will get triggered. They don't want to go through that ever again. Okay. The second one is loss of productivity. Their team, when this thing happens, when this disruption happens, people were hired to do a different job. They cannot do that job. When they cannot do that job because they have to do this, that is obviously creating an issue. Okay. And then the third one is a disruption to either business or product. It's disrupting the business, their ability for customers, their ability to be able to generate revenue, or potentially the leak is happening in a warehouse where it's actually damaging product or a certain. Chad, you tell the story about in that amphitheater where when that happened, not only was it disrupting business, but the cost to do that every single time because they had to remove all the chairs out of the auditorium. Every time they had to fix it, it was extremely expensive to fix. So if they don't fix it right the first time, this is extremely costly, right?
That story fits in perfect here. I don't mind if we take 2 minutes. I can just bust through it real quick because I want you guys to understand it. So we got called out. It was a theater. It was a 100-year-old theater in a Texas city. And when we went out there, it was a modified roof. It was a newer modified roof. It wasn't bad at all. We got up there and we noticed that they took it up the wall. So it was like this old brick wall. They went up and they terminated on the wall. Long story short, all we had to do was encapsulate the rest of the wall with modified. It wasn't crazy. It was a simple thing. Now, the proposal I think that we had was like, it was like $3,000 or something like that. Not crazy. Until I understood why the proposal didn't get aligned. And I'm going to take you through my failure on this, right? So I give them the proposal, $3,000. We found some other punctures and stuff. It wasn't much. I'm sitting there with a big client. He spends a lot of money with us. I'm like, all right, dude, here you go. 3 weeks go by. Hey, what's up? Where's that at? Oh, I'm trying to get it approved. It's $3,000. Like, you got the approval, dude. You've written things off like this all the time. He goes, no. I got to get the whole project approved. And I was like, what do you mean? And he goes, well, we have to do, we got to paint the ceiling because when that roof leak came by, it stained the ceiling. Now, I don't know if it's 100 feet, but it's surely high. Let's just say 50 feet. Right. So it's 50 foot up there. And I was like, okay. And he's like, what we have to do is we have to remove all of the seats because we have to get a fork or a man lift in there through the doors, right? These double doors, they have to take the man lift in, go around. They have to remove the seats so they can drive over to that area to get a man lift to literally paint this like 3 foot by 3 foot area white because there's a stain on it. The project was $20,000+. My side was $3,000. So let's take this in the retrospect now and looking at this is that I thought this client was paying $3,000 to be able to encapsulate the wall. What was really happening is he was spending $20,000 to be able to fix just the repercussions of what happens when it leaks. So he was making a much bigger decision than I thought he was making. It was not just awarding me $3,000 contract. What he was doing is he was awarding me a $3,000 contract to be able to reduce a $20,000+ bill every time it leaks. That's what I missed in this, is that every time it leaks, it was $20,000 and massive disruption to the theater, which was a live theater, right? We got chairs pulled out when you're doing that because you're surely not interrupting any shows or whatever's happening. That's a whole different world, guys. I went in this thinking that I just had to fix a leak on a wall. This client is spending $20,000 and I didn't understand truly how big this issue was. Now, as a trusted advisor, I failed in that instant, but I'm telling you guys this so you can learn, right, from the real experiences that I had.
And again, guys, the process, any process that you have should put you in position to get this information. It's not designed to just lay it out on a platter for you. You have to be listening. You have to be an active listener. If you're asking these questions, you're going to hear these little clues, and you're going to have to be what does that mean? Tell me more about that. We talk about it all the time. Tell me more about that. What did you mean when you said this? Just use those two probes anytime you get bits of information when you're getting answers to these questions to really get down in. This will get you in position, but you still got to go score the bucket. Okay. Now, the key to this is we want this to be measurable. This needs to anchor them. It's called price anchoring. Your number needs to be in context to an actual bigger number. There's another example of one of my reps in the fractional work that I do. He was talking to a Hilton, and they were talking on the 8th floor. There was a bunch of leaking happening, and he started to go through and started to say, okay, well, how many rooms are being impacted by this? You guys able to rent them out? No, we're not. How much you guys? And he went through and did that work. And surprisingly enough, the manager he didn't know the number. He didn't realize, one, how much money they were losing today with the number of rooms that they weren't able to book. But two, as it continued to spread, they were going to lose the entire 8th floor. By quantifying that, that puts in perspective the number on the proposal that we ended up giving him. And the price sensitivity is far less, guys. So when you guys can calculate the actual number that will anchor your price, that number will be a lot bigger than how much it's going to cost for the roof repair. Okay, that'll anchor it. There'll be less price sensitivity, better understanding. If you don't do that, we talk about this all the time. In the absence of information, people are going to make up their own. And I promise you, they're not going to expect your service to cost as much as it does. Okay. But essentially, guys, what we're trying to figure out is what is at stake for them? What are the negative repercussions or recurring impact of this problem? We need to understand how bad it is, because if it is bad enough for them to want to solve it right the first way, then that'll keep them from going through what Chad will always refer to as the half-ass solution. Everybody's always ready to do a half-ass solution, because maybe a half-ass solution will work 80% of the way. And that's a good ratio. People are bad buyers, guys. We talk about this all the time. It's such a flawed way to go about solving your problems and making purchases.
I had a conversation just yesterday with a sales rep, right? We were talking about a puncture in a roof system. And I told him there's 3 ways to fix it. Number 1 is bubble gum. Number 2 is duct tape. Number 3 is heat welding a TPO patch. All of them will fix the leak that's going to happen tomorrow. So if you're going to buy based upon, I just need it fixed, I want the cheapest price with the fastest response, like literally, dude, go chew some bubble gum, dry the spot out and put it in there. It'll stop it, right? Maybe for a week or maybe until it gets cold, right? It's going to pop off inside there. If you want a little bit longer, use some duct tape. And if you want something done real, right? And that's where we're talking about price anchoring. That's where we're talking about justifying what's going on. Because the difference to be able to go up there, heat weld a patch down and be able to abide, right, or follow the manufacturer specifications, right? That's the larger issue right now. If you get repairs done by somebody else, if you do what, X amount of, or whatever the repair is, what's the repercussion of that? What's at stake, right? If you don't do the right repairs, you just lost your manufacturer's warranty. Is that worth it? Those are the conversations that we need to be having with our customer, right? So taking it right back to the theater here, what's the negative repercussions or reoccurring impact that the problem needs to be bad enough for they want to solve it? It was a $20,000+ investment that they had to make, not including shutting the theater down for X amount of days. That's going to happen every single time it rains. And my customer needs to understand that. So when we make a repair, we make it right, and you're never going to have to deal with this again. That price anchors and that numbs, right? When I bring the $3,000 proposal inside there, knowing that he and I have already walked through a $25,000 disruption every time it leaks, $3,000 just makes it simple. That's how you numb price. So I urge you guys, do the same thing on your replacements. $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 replacement, guys. You need to do the same thing. It's no different. I don't care if it's a $3,000 repair or a $300,000 roof replacement. If the problem's not big enough, right, to act, they're not going to do it. And if you guys are getting price objections or price sensitivity and different things like that, we're not anchoring it. We're not really tying what's at stake. What if you put a new roof on and it's not done right, or it's problematic, or it continues to leak? What is at stake for doing it wrong? Choosing maybe the right price with the wrong contractor. What's at stake? That's what going back to your book of business is about.
All right. So, guys, once we get to these expected outcomes, then we can actually have an effective budget conversation. Too many people are asking the budget question in a way where it's like we talk about, right? Date or doctor visit. It's like this question out of left field. It's basically communicated to them as how much are you willing to spend? They don't want to have that discussion. It doesn't make any sense to have that discussion. But when we put it in context of this, we want to understand, do they normally have budget for problems like this? For this type of problem, how much are they usually willing to put towards it in terms of an overall solution? Right? Or are they just going to ultimately just keep handling this stuff as it continues to come up? Do they want to continue to be reactive? Or do they want to be more proactive so they end up spending less with less hassle? The key to this, guys, is we get really clear on what we do want when we're presented with what we don't want. So you guys cannot underestimate the psychology of what's going on with your buyer in that moment. When they are dealing with that leak, when they're dealing with that issue gets them very clear on the world that they want. Just a life where they don't have to deal with this crap. You can leverage that frustration into a conversation about becoming more proactive about these issues, about fixing it right now and getting more proactive about the roof care. This is the right time to have it.
This is a massive, massive part for all of the sales reps, because these questions right here, they're written here very, very specifically, because you can ask the budget question wrong. And when you ask the budget question wrong, what happens? They put a shield up and they don't want to talk to you. And they say, no, we know we take care of that in-house. We're going to make a decision as a team. I don't care what the budget is. I'm asking, do you normally have a budget for problems like this? Which means, yes, we do. Okay. What does that look like? How do you put that together? How did you figure out a budget for this, right? This is me being inquisitive to what's happening, because if you don't ask the question in this way, you're going to get a shield. Okay. Do you normally have a budget for problems like this? Do you just handle them when they come up? So you're asking them, is this a reactive thing or a proactive thing? Right? No. We normally take care of leaks proactively, but this one came up. But there's an awesome value add for you guys to be able to say, okay, so we're dealing with a reactive leak that you wish we could have proactively fixed. Yes. All right, cool. Let's take a larger look. We can definitely fix this leak. I know I'm stepping into the solution side, but these are really, really important questions, guys. You're figuring out if your customer is reactive or proactive. Does it have to rain in order for the customer to spend money? Or, much like David said at the beginning, have they had some type of impact that's going to make them want to be proactive? Had they had to deal with this before? How many times have we walked into a building trying to talk to them about roofing and they say, no, new roof. We've had it for 5 years. We have no leaks. We're absolutely fine, which in my world is nothing but the absolute opposite. If you've had a new roof for 5 years, you've had no leaks, and you haven't been up there, that's horrible. It's like buying a car, driving 50,000 miles and being like, no. It's only 12 months old. We're fine. It doesn't happen like that, right? But perception is reality for your customer. They have a new roof. They have a 20-year warranty. They've had it for 5 years. It hasn't leaked. And you know what? I don't want anybody to go up there because they're going to put holes in the roof. Perception's reality, guys. And it's your job to be able to change that through a problem, goal, or education. And these questions right here are fabulous to be able to dive into it.
All right. So then from there, we basically want to gauge what they do believe their ability to be. Ultimately, Chad, why do you think you guys haven't been able to figure this out? But we're asking them now that they know how big the problem is, now that they know the potential cost of the problem, the existing cost and the potential ongoing cost if they don't get it solved right. Why can't they solve it on their own? We want to continue that detachment and that clarity so that they don't fall into the bucket of being insane, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Do they really need to go outside of their current existing resources? We're going to confront it head on. We're going to ask the question, and we're really going to get clear with them. We're going to have that discussion, but we're going to do it in a way where we've guided what that decision would be. right? We're only going to get to this question if it's clear. If we've asked the other question, it's just clear. They can't figure this out. They don't know what the hell the problem. If you don't know what the problem is, how are you ever going to know what the solution is? Right? If it's going to cost you big bucks, why the hell would you ever? Sorry, go ahead.
Or justify the cost to be able to fix it.
That's right. Yep. So you're already going to know what the answer is, but you still have to go in and ask the question. The reason why is because it doesn't matter if you know the answer. They need to know the answer. And if you assume just because you know the answer, because you talk to hundreds of people just like them, you're wrong. They don't know the answer yet. You have to get them to say it. It's almost like on an airplane, guys, right? When you sit in the emergency row and they read off the thing, are you willing to do this? And you have to give them a verbal yes. Like they need to verbalize this to you. This is roofing sales regulations. They have got to verbalize it to you. And that's where we then want to get to the question on a scale of 1 to 10, right? Are you able to solve this on your own, a scale of 1 to 10 with the existing resources? We get that answer and we're all both aligned. And that's where the confirmation now close comes in. We're clear that they're going to take action. We got this part. We're clear that they need outside help. This is now the only time that our solution is relevant. So you guys get that itchy trigger finger to want to go in and start, telling them about all the cool things that you guys do. None of it is relevant until right now.
Right.
Because we didn't know if they needed to act or if we didn't know if they actually needed our help. Sorry, go ahead, Chad.
Oh, you're fine. These questions eliminate the I think, right? That's what these do, the I think. And that's what we said. We're taking maybes out of all of this, right? So ask them, why can't you solve it on your own? All right, so we're completely aligned. You guys got to do the project. Why can't you just do it on your own?
Yeah.
Verbal side. We're not roofers. We're a manufacturing company. And right? I don't know what it's going to say. Ask the question. You got to figure this out because you're leading them to be able to understand the value that you're bringing to the table. And so talk to me. Why do you have to go outside your current resources that you have? It could be a lot of answers, dude. But if you don't ask the questions, guys, you're not going to know if their last vendor completely screwed them over and they had to sue them. You're not going to know if corporate requires them to be able to get 3 bids. You're not going to know if he just came in and he hated all the roofers, so he fired them all and he's looking for someone new to be able to take over maintenance on all of the facilities. You don't know until you ask the question. So confront it head on and take all the variables out. That's what I can tell you. It's only awkward if you guys make it awkward. If you're inquisitive and you were there, just like David explained inside a doctor visit, right? It's not weird to be able to ask doctor questions. It's only weird if you ask doctor questions on a date. You're trying to make them like you, right? That's when it gets weird. So it's only awkward if you guys make it awkward. You have to ask the questions, right? And this is the last part to it. And this is so important, right? On a scale to 10, how would you guys rate your ability to be able to solve the biggest problems that we've diagnosed? On a scale of 1 to 10, what's your guys' ability to be able to fix this? And the reason we ask for a number is because it allows us to be able to dive deeper into a situation. If they give you a 9 or a 10, cool. We know it's top of priority. If they give you a 7 or 8, ask the question. All right, so can I ask what's a 9 or a 10? Find out what's in front of it. Find out what's more of a priority, right? Or find out what, or not priority, right? It's ability, right? Find out what it is. Well, we might be able to do some of this on our own. Some of the repairs that I'm looking at, we can probably do those on our own. Ask the question, because this is what's going to take guys from selling the job to sitting there waiting and following up and never getting the job. David, go ahead. Sorry.
I'll tell you guys will be surprised. No, you're good. You guys will be surprised. We've done call reviews where, man, you're expecting them to give a 2. I mean, they might give a 0 to this answer, right? We come through and it's just, and again, you guys need to frame this up, right? You guys are not robots. So you got to use your skill set to frame this up. So it's going to sound something like, so Chad, yeah, I want to make sure I'm not making too many assumptions here. If you could just help me out just to make sure we're thinking about this the same way so I can see whether or not, we're ultimately needed in this right now. Put it on a scale of 1 to 10 for me. How would you guys rate with your existing resources and the vendor that you guys used to use? How would you rate your ability to solve these bigger problems that we got aligned on here? Right. And we've listened to these calls where literally, you think they're going to give a 2 or 3, 6, maybe 7? No, 6. Like, what? What are you talking about? Are you kidding me? But reps that want any salesperson, right? Chad and I included, if we don't ask this question, you end up getting off the call or leaving that meeting thinking there are 2 and they absolutely need outside help. And in their mind, there are 6 or 7. And they don't end up closing, and you wonder why. And you're at a loss. It's because you just didn't go this extra step to get a quantifiable, like Chad said, an objective outcome, an objective number that you can both align on. It sounds like a very small step, but every single one of these questions, guys, has been created and added to this process because the lack of these questions has caused deals to die unnecessarily. That is why this is all based off the 5 fatalities, guys. Deals did not close. We analyzed why they didn't close, and we have added in or tweaked and adjust questions over the course of, I mean, broadly, a decade, but very aggressively over the course of the last 3 or 4 years since we released the guided selling technology that really gave us the ability to get better execution across all of this. But all of this stuff is in there very specifically. So if we're skipping any of this, you guys are leaving your deals vulnerable to one of the fatalities when you shouldn't have. And I am vulnerable to the sheepadoodle behind me that is acting like she's going to eat the delivery person outside when we all know she's not going to, with her fluffy curls.
Been in every one so far. So to have her not look like we're losing
cameo. She's the only reason why people are like, is that like a green screen behind you? Is that like a picture? The only reason why they know it's not is because the sheepadoodle runs in frame and then runs out.
Right, 53 minutes in, he has it tagged. Or yeah. All right, guys. So what we're explaining, all of this, it connects into a conversation, just like we did on the first checkbox, right? Checkbox 2 is absolutely no different because each one of these questions should connect, right? What's the biggest problem that they're not aware of, that they're currently not aware of? What are the expected outcomes if we solve those problems, right? What's the typical budget? How do they budget for things like this, right? To create the outcomes that they want. And then finally, why can't they just solve it themselves or use their existing vendor? These are the questions that are set up to where we can have a conversation with our customer and an inquisitive conversation. Because notice every one of these are questions, right? We always hear the side inside there that the customer should be asking or talking 80% of the time, us 20, or even different, even more extreme than that. If we ask the right questions, we can get the customer to self-discover what is the biggest issue, right? Or the bigger issue. And we can also help them self-identify what are the biggest problems that they're not aware of, right? How do you guys plan to, I mean, that's a big issue and that's a big goal that you have. How do you guys plan to justify that? How do you normally budget for it? Right. And then why don't you just solve it yourself? Why do you need someone new or someone from the outside? Why don't you just go do it yourself? We ask these questions to be able to get clarity and alignment with our customer. It's okay if at any point inside this, they are disqualified. That is okay. It's okay if they say, yeah, we're going to do it ourselves. It's okay if all of that stuff is coming back. That's okay. Okay not to put it in your book of business.
They were going to do it themselves anyway, right? Like the only thing that them saying it, like you said, it just helps you get it out of your book of business so you can be more confident in what your end of month projections are instead of having your month fall apart on you.
Yep. So there is a workspace, guys. And if you haven't got access to it, it's on 45. So it's David's workspace. It's absolutely beautiful. And you guys don't have to think about anything because it literally will give you everything that we have built, right? Our goal today is to find the exact issues you're dealing with and see how we can create a solution that aligns to the goals that you have, right? All right. So when people take the time to sit down with me, they usually have a problem or goal they're trying to solve. Which is it for you? Right? I've already said that like 5 times in here. It's literally written right here. That's the question that you have. And guess what? We have predefined answers that we typically see. So you guys don't have to sit there. Sorry, I'm jumping around with my mouse. I shouldn't have. But right here. So we have roof leaks. We can't seem to stop, and it's causing issues within our business. Right? We need to define a long-term plan with the roofing system and start understanding what's going on up there. We have predefined issues, right? Answers, I should say, not issues, that we typically hear. And the more you hear this is the more that you guys can become an expert inside solving the issues. So you have to create consistency on the questions that you're asking. If you guys want access to this, it's actually super easy. And I'll tell you inside 1 sec on how you get that. I'm going to tell you guys, you have to role play. As a doctor, you don't go in and do brain surgery the first time and hope for a good result. You guys have to practice. You have to become an expert at your craft. There are tons of really, really sucky salesmen out there that ask a question based upon what they think when they walk into the meeting. Don't be that person. Role play, ask the questions, get consistency in what's happening, and use the technology that we're giving you guys to create that consistency inside your sales process, right? Ask the question. If the question's too vague, you need to probe. And we'll do this. We'll do role playing, right? We'll do some stuff inside here that gets fun, but you have to probe. And then finally, you have to summarize the answer, because what you hear might not be what he says or what he's trying to say. So when you guys summarize the answer, right, it allows the customer to be able to hear what you have transcribed back to them. The best thing that can ever happen is your customer says, no, that's not right. And you can just respond with, all right, help me understand, right? It's the best thing that can ever happen. So when you guys are going through role play, tell that other person, be mean, right? The meaner that they can be, the shorter they can be, is the better that it's going to prepare you guys for what may come up or how hard you have to probe to get the information that you need. Everything that we're showing you guys, all we ask is that you spread the word. You guys are here because you want to be here, I hope anyway. And what we're going through inside the software that you guys are going to get, the playbooks that we have, the templates, all that kind of different stuff. If you guys haven't taken the Chasm personality assessment, get on it, because it's absolutely amazing to be able to figure out the archetype that you guys are in sales, right? This isn't a personality assessment just for the world. This is a sales assessment that understands maybe, and even from my side, where my weak points are at and how I can get better as a salesman. Training videos, we got buyer motivations, we got a boatload of stuff that's available to you in this workspace. The only thing that I'm asking for you guys to do is spread the word. And what that means, go on LinkedIn, share it on LinkedIn, tag David or I. If you guys haven't checked it out, I'm trying to think of where it is. Yeah, right-hand side here, there's a Facebook group. So I have a Facebook group. We stream each No Rep Left Behind to the Facebook group. We throw stuff on there as we're coming through throughout the week, different strategies, stuff like that. It's a network of individuals who truly want to grow their commercial roofing sales expertise. Grow it. It's only as good as what you put into it, right? So I say that to all the members as they're coming in. It's up to you guys to be able to create those conversations and get that peer networking. You can take your phone, you can scan that Facebook QR group. You can also find it directly on my Facebook. You can scan it there. David's LinkedIn, Chad's LinkedIn. Mine's cooler, just saying. But follow us, guys. Get on there. Follow us on LinkedIn, right? We want you to be able to help spread the word. We want you to be able to help get this out here. Anybody can join No Reps Left Behind. And the whole reason that David and I do this is to be able to raise the floor of the commercial roofing service world, because the less sucky salesmen that you guys have to sell against is the easier it is that you guys can become trusted advisor. Because if, as you're going through this, if there's one thing I learned, guys, it's that every client, prospect, or person that talks to me is afraid to get screwed over like they did by the last guy. And all that does is make it harder for us to be trusted advisors, harder for us to be able to get the real information we need. So if we can make the industry better, right? Less used car salesman-y, right? And more doctory, it's going to make only a better world for us, a better world for our clients, and allow you guys to be able to deliver truly what you want to as a trusted advisor. David, anything you want to throw in before we're done, sir?
Nope. Thanks for everybody attending. Obviously, just real quick, everybody that's here that's involved in our programs, you obviously, guys, you get this as a part of being in our programs. So you guys should already have access to all this stuff, just to make sure you're clear on that side. But yeah,
I'm not letting that go. Share it. I still want you in our Facebook group, guys. Join the Facebook. Go share it. This is no different.
That's right. But yes, we are here to try to raise up the entire roofing sales community. And your guys' help in doing that, right? Helping us help more people. That's all we're looking to do here. And it's the magnification and ripple effect of that help. You guys know, right? As a salesperson, we can feel so alone with all the weight on our shoulders as we're trying to go through and hit quota and all the pressure that's there. We don't have to go it alone. We're here for you guys every single week to pour into you guys, answer your questions, give you guys whatever it is that you need. So just help others get the help that they need and the support that they need.
All right. All right, guys. Thank you. I appreciate everybody. And we'll see you next week, guys.
See you guys.